Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leanne Lutz. I'm the Artistic Director and Curator for the Jomba Contemporary Dance Festival, hosted by the Centre for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. It's my enormous pleasure to invite you all this afternoon to join us in the magnificent launch of our Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues, our second version of the colloquium, of the papers, and on the online archive. So just to kickstart today, I'm going to hand over to Sipindile Hlongwa, who is the Senior Administrator and the Curator of the Poetry Africa Festival, to do an official welcome on behalf of the Centre for Creative Arts. Sipindile?
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you so much, Leanne, for this. As she has introduced me, I am Sipindile Hlongwa, the Senior Administrator and Curator for the Poetry Africa Festival. So on behalf of the Centre for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this event this afternoon. I bring you greetings from the Director of the Centre for Creative Arts, Ismail Mohammed, who is unable to be with us today. The Jomba Contemporary Dance Experience is one of the flagship programs of the Centre for Creative Arts, alongside the Time of the Writer Festival, Poetry Africa Festival, Durban International Film Festival, as well as the Affluence Human Rights Festival. We are extremely proud of our Jomba Festival. In 2020, the Jomba Festival won the award for the from the National Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences. In 2021, Jomba was awarded the Chairperson's Award by the Business Arts South Africa. The award recognizes Jomba's immense contribution to arts education and activism to make the arts accessible to the communities. This year, Jomba presented its second colloquium. This gathering of academics and practitioners to think more deeply about dance, to analyze, contextualize, and to deconstruct. It will become an annual event, and we at the Centre for Creative Arts are delighted to put our support behind it. We are also proud of the achievement that Jomba has made in advancing the isiZulu language in the Kuluma blog publication. The enormous achievement that the Jomba Festival continues to garner is due to the extraordinary leadership and vision of Dr. Leanne Lutz, who brings to the fore. We are grateful to her and her team for the vision, passion, and commitment. We also express our gratitude to the dancers, choreographers, and other creatives who have been part of the festival over more than 2 decades. Next year, the Jomba celebrates its 25th anniversary as South Africa's longest standing contemporary dance festival, and as one of the most important contemporary dance events on the African continent. We look forward to celebrating this milestone with you. Once again, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the second MASIHAMBISANE Dialogue Archives. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. I will now hand over to Prof. Bonga.
Thank you very much, Sipindile. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is also my great pleasure to be part and parcel of the launch of the second Jomba MASIHAMBISANE 22 Dialogue Proceedings, which is taking place this afternoon. These emanate from the May Colloquium, which was a huge success. And on behalf of the School of Arts, I do want to do an official welcome. And I want to thank our director and curator for the Jomba Festival, Dr. Leanne Lutz, and the members of the steering committee who have been working very, very hard to make this work a success. I do also want to acknowledge and thank the entire CCA team under the leadership of Dr. Ismail Mohammed, who is being represented by Mrs. Sipindile Hlongwa this afternoon. I thank the NIHSS, who have been very supportive of this Jomba Digital Archive portal. Sipindile has alluded to some of the initiatives and also some of the awards that Jomba has had over the last 2 years. These archives are very important because these will shape future research. yesterday in his lecture entitled Contesting Global Hegemony in Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences, Knowledge Making, Research on, for, with, in, and of Africa, Professor Salim Badat said that the arts, humanities, and social sciences should work together to solve problems from our societies. The 22nd Jomba MASIHAMBISANE dialogue aimed to understand and challenge how embodied knowledge is generated, owned, valued, and distributed. So we also aim to also honor the non-traditional forms of knowledge productions that include amongst the evolving agenda, the performance and the various oral and embodied dance traditions that are specific to South Africa. Critical attention to the body as archive, activism, all in lieu of the traditional conference presentation. So this digital publication is a celebration of pushing the new boundaries, the new knowledge in the performing arts. So with these few words, I thank the team very much, and I thank all the dancers who have contributed to the success of this excellent work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hlongwa, for your words and for being with us this afternoon and for your leadership and care of the arts. We appreciate it so much. So indeed, as was mentioned earlier, Jomba in 2022 turned 24. So next year is, of course, a huge milestone, but still in honoring what we have been doing, the festival, of course, the Jomba, under the kind of rubric of Jomba, we have two offerings. And one is, of course, the annual festival, which is about practice and skills development, which happens always at the end of August and the beginning of September. But in 2021, we also set out to start what we call the Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues. And the idea was to create a space to reflect, interrogate, and allow for academic and artistic dialogue around embodied performance. So Jomba kind of sets out to kind of secure a contemporary dance space in South Africa and of course more globally, as a kind of radical and deeply political art form that engages with the intersectional ideas of identity, belonging, history, memory, and indeed the socio-political frames of how we inhabit our bodies, and from our bodies, how we inhabit the planet. In these Jomba MASIHAMBISANE dialogues, we have set out to create non-conformist, perhaps non-traditional ways of thinking about research and academic dialogue around Africa's embodied practices. And so we have intended to open spaces for not only papers, but for deeply interrogated panel discussions, where we see the meetings of artists and researchers, and the idea of negotiating the idea that dance is research. After each colloquium and each dialogues, all the papers go through an editorial process and then are offered as proceedings on our digital archive, alongside the access to the panel discussions and some of the more visual performative presentations that were offered. We are setting up an online archive that is turning out to be a space, we hope, of shared knowledge and learning, and a free online access space for further research. All of this, we hope, really pushing dance scholarship in South Africa and Africa. So we come together this afternoon to launch the 2022 and the second Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogue Proceedings. In 2021, we themed the dialogues, the choreographed politics of intimacies. And this year, as part of the zeitgeist of what was going on as we begin to rethink the politics of archives, we themed our colloquium, the dancing archives. And the colloquium aimed to open up for experience and for discussion and exploration, interrogation, a few areas. And they were, first of all, the desire for embodied discussions around how dance archivists, whether they are scholars, artists, curators, can be what Pickover calls agents of change. And this is specifically in decentralizing capitalist, normative, able-bodied patriarchy, for example, within the frames of, amongst other kinds of ways of thinking about the world, decoloniality and post-coloniality. We were also interested in ideas around embodied dance practices where notions of the body as archive are interrogated and revisioned in dance performance and dance training. We were particularly interested in discussions of the works of artists and dance makers from the global South Africa and the African diaspora. We were also interested in interrogating in both theory and practice the restitute embodied practices of systems of knowledge and transmitting knowledge that we hoped could break down the old. We hosted 4 extraordinary keynote panels, 2 keynote presentations, and 12 papers. And the works ranged very impressively from looking at dance festivals in Nigeria to interrogations of small everyday dance practices that began to disrupt and rethink the archive. We hope that what we offer is a deeply rich resource of scholarship and embodied artistic engagement. And I'm very excited to be with you all today to launch these proceedings. So this said, I wanted to also acknowledge that this work has only been possible through an amazing editorial and steering committee who have worked alongside me to focus, deliver, and administer this amazing Jomba archive and this project. They've been not only colleagues at sister institutions all over the world, but they've landed up being a community of friends and colleagues who have, beyond just the archive, have begun to support and nurture one another. And for that, I am so deeply grateful. So I'd like to mention all their names and to introduce them just a little bit, and then I'm going to hand over afterwards to ask them to have some reflection on the MASIHAMBISANE dialogues. So in alphabetical order, I'd like to really thank and acknowledge Claire Craighead from the Durban University of Technology. Unfortunately, Claire can't be with us this afternoon as she has some work commitments that have kept her busy. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge David Tatanelo-April from the University of Pretoria. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Bongeni Mchali from the University of Cape Town, who also sadly can't be with us this afternoon as he has practical exams that he's sitting in at the moment. I'd like to welcome Dr. Sarah Lee Castellan from the University of East London in the United Kingdom. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Tobile Mapanga from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She's our graduate student representative and very excited to have her with us. And lastly, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Professor Yvette Hutchison from the University of Warwick at the university in the UK as well. So just to welcome friends and family here, and finally also to welcome Gift Maravatsanga from the University of Zululand, a colleague and friend just up the way. So just to again greet you all and to say thank you very much. And I'm going to again go in alphabetical order. So I'm going to hand over to he's laughing and I know that smile so well, but I'm handing over to David April from the University of Pretoria.
Yeah, and that can only happen because David April, oh my God. Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you so much, Dr. Lutsiwe, for that wonderful introduction. I don't have a lot of things to say, but then just to express my gratitude for the mere fact that during all these dialogues, these colloquiums, for me, it was about several keywords come into play for me. It was about research, it was about discovery, and it was also about rediscovery. And then for me, the point that that really touched my heart was the fact that for the first time, here is a point where academics and practitioners can come and then have one voice where they talk about something that really matters. Because often, whenever we go to conferences, it's not possible that people are able to really express. So the
in the interest of time, yeah, let me just end there. It's been really amazing and there's so much to take home with. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gift, and thank you so much for your input. I was also very moved because after the colloquium, Gift launched his own exhibition of his own artwork at a gallery in Mpangeni. And I know in some little correspondence that we had, I know the idea of archiving one's own practice was kind of part of that. So also just honoring you as an artist and a practitioner as well, Gift. So I would like to hand over to Dr. Sarah Lee Castellan from the University of East London in the UK. Sarah Lee.
Hi, I also won't have much to say, but the most important things are to say thank you so much to Lutsiwe, to Centre for Creative Arts, to Jomba, to UKZN, and also to my colleagues, my family. And with the family, I've learned so much from you and honored with that, and then learned as well from presenters, and also learned from the audience with the discussions. And like, everything was like, I can't pick out something that was amazing, because it all was amazing. But just picking up one or two things that my colleagues, my family have said now, is around kind of the importance of the rediscovery, because I think about dance and the archive here in SA, and how there's such an urgency that we can rediscover these stories, but how we're putting our bodies at the center of rediscovering the stories. So much like David's absolutely wonderful work. And the last thing that I'll say is that I rely personally as an artist on Jomba MASIHAMBISANE as the time when we can like cleanse our souls and refresh our bodies, and like dance being the way that we move through the world. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Lee. Thank you for your beautiful words. And Sarah Lee's got a long connection with UKZN. Although she's sitting in the UK, she's actually a graduate of the Drama and Performance Studies program. So I feel very honored also to connect with you, reconnect with you after many years, and to share this space with you. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Tobile Mapanga. Toby.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for all being here. I think the journey with Jomba for me has just been delicious, and I'm so glad that I was part of the first and the second MASIHAMBISANE dialogues. And for the second one to be so in line with my own research was a real affirmation of the work that I'm interested in, but also such a wonderful acknowledgement of an archive as something that is moving, that is breathing, and that is living with us, which I think was something that I was so afraid of as a young person, to deal with history or to think about interacting with history. And now that I finally found my courage and I'm dabbling in it, to have such a beautiful colloquium that really appreciated, acknowledged, and saw how differently we might all come to the archive, how differently we are all adding to the archive, and how different archives are speaking to each other, and can sit side by side, and that we don't have to pick and be exclusive in how we remember and how we, archive. So for me, this was just it just felt timely and serendipitous, but also very fulfilling. Always so grateful to all the different artists that bring the different aspects to the regular kind of academic work, to have beautiful collaborations with visual artists and dance artists who are interrogating archive in an interesting way, to have conversations about other ways of passing on history through the body, through our speaking, through our orality, and through our existence was just really wonderful. So yeah, for me, a very much soul lifting and feeding, and just a beautiful experience. And I'm very grateful to have been part of it. And to have had the space to also explore my own research. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toby. I also want to officially thank Toby, because Toby also came on board as part of the administrative team and part of the mentorship team. So just to say thank you to Toby for the hours of incredible and fantastic administration and support, and also just to honor your own courage to present the beginnings of your master's research. Greetings, everybody. Again, I'm so sorry on behalf of our team that we've had some interruptions with the live stream. So we apologize that we were disconnected for a few minutes, and I'm really glad that you all stayed with us. So thank you for being here. We're going to kind of take it where we left off. And I was just about to introduce my friend and colleague at the University of Warwick, Professor Yvette Hutchison, who has been, of course, part of the Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogue Steering Committee for the past 2 years. Yvette.
Thank you, Leanne, and everybody else. It's been a fantastic last 2 years working with everybody, and especially so because I'm not a dance scholar. I'm a theatre scholar who's been allowed in the room to play and intellectually as well as conceptually, it's been a really interesting playground. And I think that it's been very important because we often think of archives as quite serious places of organized systems of knowing and controlling knowledge. But when you start challenging them through play, we can start thinking about who's able to access this work, how is it deemed worthy. And as soon as we understand that archives are nothing until we engage with them, we realize the importance of the embodied being, whether it's a reader or whether it's a dancer, that starts interpreting and then making live that archive. So what's really struck me about the actual proceedings was questions about what does it mean to be able to look at, access, enter, interpret the archive. And that ability is physical, it's political, it's privileged, but it's also physically able. I was particularly involved with the session with Nadine Mackenzie, who raised issues of ability around dance and the dancing body, and how we also remember different kinds of embodiment. But words that kept coming up for me earlier on, David April spoke about keywords. And for me, keywords that kept coming up were ideas of relationality, how things are relational. Mess came up a lot. And I loved mess. Bodies are messy, right? And if we can make mess in the archive, which we're often not allowed to do, because a curator will run over and say, oh, what are you doing? Shh, and don't mess up with the papers. But mess is really important for new knowledges or challenging knowledges. But also toward the end, I was really interested, particularly by Claire's ideas of the non-human, the post-human, and the idea of prosthetics, objects, things that we attach to our bodies, things that we attach to the archives. And these are things that I've kept thinking about alongside what Gift was saying about spaces, and the physical and the conceptual spaces that we play in, we dance in. And what I'd still really, really like to see is a literal dance piece in a physical archive. So I'm going to say we haven't completed this project until I see this performance. So I'm giving that back to you as my lovely colleagues, and say, please, when you've created this, invite me. I'd really like to see the dance in that archival space.
Thank you so much, Yvette. Challenge accepted. So thank you, Yvette. Thank you always for the provocations that you give us and for, kind of spurring us on. So the challenge is accepted. I think maybe we'll find a way to kind of live that vision. Thank you also for your absolute rigorous insight and care with which you share your enormous body of knowledge, and kind of keep challenging us to think out of the box, and for that I'm very, very grateful. So I just want to at this point really thank Wesley Mahere and the Elizabeth Snedden Theatre, that during COVID, so much had to be rethought. And one of the great gifts that emerged out of this was, of course, the partnership that the Centre for Creative Arts set up with the Elizabeth Snedden Theatre, and particularly with Wesley, whose enormous skills in technology and in IT has kind of really facilitated us even beginning to think about doing this project. So I really want to thank Wesley for his enormous work, and thank the Elizabeth Snedden Theatre for their amazing partnership with the CCA. And I know that Wesley is basically responsible for designing, implementing, and setting up the archive. So while we did all the kind of work in the front, Wesley was creating the portals and the spaces to host this. So I really wanted to acknowledge him and his work. And I think he's going to share with us now a little bit on how to find the archive, which is not difficult. But I'm going to hand it to you, Wes, and for you to show us how we can find the archive. I'm not sure if, oh, there we go.
Good afternoon. To find the Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues proceedings, as always for all things Jomba, go to our website, jomba.ukzn.ac.za. From there, at the top of the page, you can either hover over the MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues tab and click on Issue 2, or click on the tab to open the page. Here you can still find Issue 1's proceedings from last year, and now you can click on the red View button for Issue 2's proceedings. On this page, you can download the full Colloquium Proceedings in a PDF document, or scroll down to view the videos of all the keynote panels, all the papers as separately viewable and downloadable documents. And for ease of access to any of the videos that the papers have attached, they have been uploaded alongside the papers on each page. In addition to this, we have 2 more videos, one of Hannah Ma's video paper and the entire intermediality and the archive session with all its video elements. The ever-growing digital archive of the Jomba and its MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues remain available for free and accessible from the jomba.ukzn.ac.za website.
Thank you, Wes. It's amazing. It's so easy to access. So thank you very much again for everything that you've done. So finally, just to close off this afternoon, I want to again thank the Centre for Creative Arts for their staff who have helped to support from the finance team to the administration. I want to thank Dr. Ishmael Mohammed for his endless support and care. I want to thank and acknowledge Dean Nobuhle Hlongwa for taking time this afternoon to be with us and for her support of the arts. And I would like to encourage all of you to visit the archives, to read the papers, to make sure that your students and your colleagues and researchers that you are working with know that there's this vast resource of material available. As we said, it's their videos, and all of this, we've been given permission by all the artists to share the work. So we hope very much that the archives are used and they become spaces of interrogation. So with that, I kind of will close the proceedings today and thank everyone for being here. And for those who joined us online, to thank you again and to continue to just celebrate and share. And we look forward to seeing you in sort of May, June next year with the Jomba MASIHAMBISANE Dialogues number 3. And I will obviously be contacting the steering committee before that. So good afternoon to everybody. And thank you so much for being here.